So the Secret Garden got a massive buff. One of the characters I play the most is Ajax, and this weapon was designed specifically for him, but with the recent buff, the insane increase in crit actually made the weapon a really viable choice for just short of every Descendant. I've been looking for a secondary weapon to use alongside my Enduring Legacy, and to be honest, most of the special weapons felt pretty lackluster, but with the update making this weapon a god tier crit weapon, it easily skyrocketed this weapon into one of the best weapons in the entire game. I perfected my Secret Garden build. Let me show you how I made my build. Alright, so we are on the build section, and I have a couple of things I want to say. First off, for those of you who are interested in seeing the build in action and a creator who actually fights with the weapon that they show you, not just sit in a training room, at the end of the video I'll have a compilation of facing off against every single boss, not including like the ones that require you to queue with people, and you can see the weapon in action from a solo perspective. I get the comment a lot that I'm using Enzo buff and I shouldn't use my character's ability, which is insane to me, but I didn't use my Enzo buff in the showcase, so if you're interested in seeing how the weapon performs with no buffs, just a plain weapon, then it'll be at the end of the video, so enjoy that. So first things first, let's go over the Secret Garden, how it works, and just go over it. So the previous change or the update that recently happened made this weapon even more OP than it already have, and what this does now is it was previously a 35% base crit weapon, and now it is a 50% crit weapon, making it a pretty strong weapon that you want to level heavy with, like crit damage. The weapon is absolutely insane, and the buff really helped it out. The weapon comes with a 48 round mag, a reasonable 1.6 reload time. It has a 2.2 crit multi, which is actually pretty big. The burst weapon, obviously, it has a weak point damage multiplier of 1.5, and it has a pretty solid damage drop off range. It's an AR, so you know it's going to be pretty good, and the move speed is actually pretty good too. So overall, it has some really solid stats that really make this weapon really good. For its unique ability, it's called Gardener, and what this does is, well, it's very focused towards tech and dimensional based Descendant. If you're a combination of both, like an Ajax for example, this weapon is going to be extremely good for you. Now keep in mind, you don't need to be these two, but I will have a video with this on Ajax on my upcoming perfected Ajax video, so stay tuned for that. But this weapon has some really good stuff, but let's go over it. First off, when you use a dimensional skill, you have a chance to trigger the passive, which is going to basically make it so that you get to custom resource. This is for any of those custom resource Descendants, Ajax, Luna, Glay, a few others. I don't know, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but you have a chance whenever you're using your dimensional skills. I don't know if those Descendants are dimensional, I'm just saying. Anyway, you'll have a chance to basically get the custom resource recovery, and it'll make it easier for you to, you know, trigger that. The other unique ability is built around tech, which is every time you use a tech skill, you have a chance to get pest control, which has a pretty cool effect to give you skill and firearm attack, and it starts to stack up, and then you get more and more of that. It has a base 30% trigger rate. These stats are a little different, I'll show you in a second, but yeah, it's a really cool buff. If you have a Descendant that has a lot of tech skills, I think Lepic has tech skills, you could use this in theory to really give yourself a lot of firearm and skill power, and it works really well. It's a really powerful effect, and it scales really well. Let's go over to the machine and show you how it scales. So in a previous video, I believe about the week into the game, I started building this weapon, and one thing I said in that video was this weapon is one of those weapons that's going to scale really well later into the game when you get more copies and stuff like that, and this is exactly the case. As you can see, every time you get an upgrade, you get a reduction on the skill cost, you get a increase on the trigger rate, and then for the other one, which is pest control, which is actually arguably more important, you get a longer duration on the pest control buff, and then you get an increase on the stacks on the firearm as well as the skill power per stacks, making this weapon definitely one that you want to max out, because you'll have a 50% trigger rate at the max, and then this will be probably like, I don't know, it goes up by 4, like 38% or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be really solid, probably closer to 40, but anyway. The point is, you're going to get a lot of benefit for upgrading it, and the weapon isn't even that crazy to farm, so it's really nice. Quickly going over the passive stats on this, and I will say this is not ideal for me personally, but this is what I have. I would prefer to have a crit damage over the firearm attack, but hey, it is what it is. We'll re-roll it in the future. So what's mandatory is the crit hit rate as well as the crit hit damage. Those two things are mandatory. You should have it. I don't have it. It is what it is. The other one I would use is weak point damage, and then I would use bonus firearm attack versus Colossus. In my testing, firearm attack has been worse. I have limited testing though, so keep that in mind. But for me, bonus firearm attack versus Colossus is much better. This is a bossing weapon, so you really want to lean into the bossing of it. The firearm attack is great, but again, I think the bonus to Colossus is much better, and really get that crit damage because it's super important. For our build, we have maxed out all the slots in this bad boy, and we have it really strong. Now, I want to talk about the special mod first, because I want people to understand this, because this is something I'm sure is going to come up. And some people like using sharp precision shot in a lot of their builds. This does not work on this weapon. I have no clue why. I don't understand why, and it didn't really, I don't know, it doesn't do it. So I cannot use sharp precision shot. It is not usable on this build. Maybe it needs like a bug fix or something, but it doesn't work. So your choices are mental focus or real life fighter, and lucky for you, they're both the same slot, so you can swap these in depending on what you want to do. Honestly, I probably could go with real life fighter because the weapon is actually really accurate. You actually get a lot from it, but depending on your playstyle, this is going to be a slot that you can kind of swap around, so really nice. While we're talking about this as well, make sure you come into the gameplay options and change your fire mode to on, so you don't have to click it every time. This has actually been a big game changer, and I feel like I shoot way better when I have this. So just make sure you have this on whenever you ever play this weapon. I tried to turn this on to make sharp precision shot work. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter unless it's fixed in the future or it's just intended. This won't fix it either, but it will make the game a lot better. Continuing on, rifling reinforcement, action reaction. These are pretty standard. These are things you're going to see in every single build. Make sure you pick these up because these are going to be leveled up. One thing to note about this weapon, it has pretty insane crit. This is my crit hit chance. I have 75.75 crit hit chance with a 4.5 crit multi. This weapon is a strong crit weapon, so you ideally want to lean into crit and crit damage to really get the benefits out of this weapon. It's really strong at it, and it's the damage is crazy in my opinion. We use better insight. You want better insight to increase that crit. It's actually a pretty significant increase. You get 18% crit from that, which is actually pretty insane. Then we have concentration priority. This is going to give us firearm crit hit damage, and it's going to make us lose reload, but it has a really good reload time, so it doesn't really matter. Then we use better concentration, more crit damage. Everything crit damage related is always going to be something I put in any crit weapon because it's so powerful and it gives you tons of damage. Next, we use fire rate up. Definitely want to use fire rate up. Fire rate up is going to give you a ton of like shoot speed. It's actually pretty noticeable when you're using it on the secret guard, and that's why I kind of like just shoot, and it almost comes out as an AR. Maybe that's a little over exaggerating, but it feels good. Don't use the other ones, they kind of suck on the way they scale. We're using expanded weapon charge because we want a bigger magazine. With the way I have it set up, I have a round of, I believe, 71 round mag, which is actually pretty good for mental focus because you actually end up getting a good amount of damage. As you can see here, it has a 1.5, which whenever you have this mod in, you're going to have enough mags to get the maximum benefit of mental focus, which is super important. I think people think this is exactly like the general rounds one. It's not. You get a better base. The general rounds one is a 1.0, and then that one stacks up to 150. This one stacks up to 60 and it has a 1.5, so just keep that in mind. Mental focus is really good on this weapon, and you definitely should consider using it. And as you can see here, we have 71 round mag, so we actually get the benefit. You can go ahead and use the other one, as I said a second ago, but I don't like it. I like mental focus better. Next, we use insight focus. This gives us 14.5% crit of the base plus some firearm crit hit damage, which is pretty significant. As you can see here, that gives us 7.25 crit, which is actually pretty big, once again giving us a ton of crit. Finally, we're using an enhancement here. Now, I will say they really need to make these slots universal because it makes it hard to like slot these in. Like, I can get more damage if I could, but obviously I can't when I kata everything, and I can't kata this because these will become too expensive. They need to do that for resistance, and they need to do that for like the Transcendent mods, so builds can be a little bit more in line and make more sense. Unfortunately, it is what it is. You'll have to use it at a 12, but this elemental damage is actually pretty significant, so it's completely fine. Alternatively, if you're obsessed with weak point, you can use weak point multi, but I'm pretty sure the elemental damage gives way more damage overall. than the weak point gain. So do whatever you want with weak point sight, but I'm using elemental for my bossing weapon and it feels really good to me, and it's a lot more damage from my testing. Finally, for a budget build, I'm going to go with this. This is what I think is good. If I'm not mistaken, this comes with an X slot and it comes with a slot. I could be wrong, it could come with a 3 slot. Regardless, it doesn't matter. This is a budget build. It comes with 2 built-in. Remember, this is the ultimate weapon. And so for me, when I think of a budget build, I think 4 kata, not 8, because obviously you don't have as many kata. But if you're going for a more budget, even if it's 3, I guess I could drop it down to 3 and we can use 3. You wouldn't need 3. You can put something like this right there and you still have plenty of extra module capacity, even if it was 3, for example. I'm just saying. But what I would use is mental focus as well as expanded weapon charge. It'll instantly give you 71 round mag. And then fire rate up is something I would always put in every build because it makes weapons feel better. Better insight is really big because it gives you a ton of crit. So I would put the better insight in to give yourself that crit. Concentration priority, then rifling reinforcement. And then, you know, just fill in everything else once you get more katas. But again, as I said a second ago, you could do this with 3 katas, which would be super budget in my opinion, because I don't perceive anything less than like if it's 4, I think that's budget or less in my opinion, but maybe 3 is good. If we're going 3, you still have space for it and you'll have space to put other things not fully leveled in and you'll be completely fine. But this is how I do it. Ultimate weapons come with 2, so that's actually pretty big. And there you have it, guys. That is my Secret Garden build. This is a weapon I've been looking at for pretty much since the launch of the game, and with the recent buff, it already made a weapon that in my opinion felt really good, way better, and honestly I'm a big fan of it. I'm going to be using this as my secondary for pretty much every future build that I have because of how powerful it is. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the Secret Garden and the buff, as well as what weapon you'd like to see me work on next, because I am looking at other weapons to work on, but I'd like to see what you guys think. Stay tuned for the fights if you guys want to see me face off against all the bosses without using any of my buffs outside of just my ultimate for ammo. Don't forget to like as well as subscribe for more of the first Descendant content, and I'll see you guys in the next video very soon.
shield at light speed.